Hi, welcome to the podcast Ease into Clarity. I'm Dr. Divi, family doctor turned intuitive coach, and I'm here to help you. In this podcast, we will learn mental techniques, emotional techniques, and spiritual techniques to change daily problems. So maybe it's your husband, your boss, your coworker, your kids, they're driving you crazy. You can email me any of your questions and I will use all the techniques I've learned over the years and help you. Grab your hot chocolate and make sure to subscribe. We'll see you soon. Ciao. Hello, it's Dr. Divi for your podcast, Ease into Clarity. And thank you so much for being here. So I'm going to take this opportunity in this podcast to talk a little bit about a venture I'm taking on around love and relationships. So there's going to be a lot of teaching on relationships and love, and also it's on a thread from the relationships and love into the retreats and the events I run. And we'll get to that in a minute. But let's talk about relationships and love. You may not know, but I've spent the last year doing retreats, workshops, and stuff like that here in Vancouver, in Mexico, Big White, Whistler, different places around the world. We had 3 sold out retreats last year, and they're phenomenal. But what I look back and realize is they were the learning ground for what I'm creating for next year, for this year coming up. But I first want to take you through a journey about relationships and how much pain we end up from relationships and how that impacts us and how so few people are talking about how to truly heal relationships. And that's what we're going to dive into. Okay. So grab your popcorn, sit down, hot chocolate. Let's have some fun together. So let's talk about relationships. Now, I'm not just talking about your relationship with your spouse or your relationship with your parents or your relationship with your boss. I'm talking about all relationships, but most importantly, the relationship with yourself. Okay. But when I have this conversation and do this podcast with you about relationships, I want you to think of all relationships where you have any pain at all. Think of your kids, think of your former lovers, think of the postman, think of your parents, think of anybody in your family, your extended family, or network that brings a bit of an energy of to you. Everybody's got that. And also think of yourself, your relationship with yourself. As you've heard me speak about on this podcast before, I talk about the 2 voices inside of us, the ego thought system and the divine thought system. The ego thought system is the thought system that's fight, flight, freeze based. It's based on separation. It's based on you're not enough. And it's based on lots of things that take you outside of the truth of who you are. Then the divine thought system speaks to that you are a child of God, a child of manifestation, and a child of creation. That's who you are. And if we actually truly believe that and embody that and live that regularly, every single one of our relationships can heal. Now, healing doesn't mean you'll be BFFs or have coffee with them, but there'll be no angst in your body at all. And that is my mission to bring to the world. My mission statement, if you haven't heard it already, is to provide clarity to people through intuitive and spiritual guidance. And when you have that guidance, you heal your relationships, your health, your money, and then you step onto your soul mission. And you know what? If all of us were doing that, then the dominant vibration would be abundance, love, and joy. We wouldn't be fighting all the time. We wouldn't have wars. We wouldn't be divorcing every second person. Or if we divorce, we wouldn't make ourselves wrong about it either. Got it? So in today's podcast, I'm going to run through a 6-step process on healing every relationship. I'm going to warn you, it's deep. I'm going to do my best to keep it basic, but I want you to know when I talk about retreats and why I talk about them is because I can only teach the 6-step process deeper in retreats. Because a podcast, 20 minutes, even if it was a 1 or 2 hour podcast, I'd barely be stretching the surface. Okay. So let's talk about my 6-step process. The first step, and it's not like do step 1, then step 2, but it's more of understanding. Okay. The first step, every relationship is a mirror to our relationship with ourselves. If I have deep distrust as a relationship with myself, then I will have a distrust relationship with somebody else. If I don't believe in myself, I will have trouble believing in others. If I judge myself, I judge others. So everybody around me is a mirror to me. That's step 1. And most of us know that. Most of us have heard of that. We know that we have a projection, we have a perception, but we're stuck in it. We're like trying to figure it out in our minds. And this work cannot be figured out in our minds, which is why I use intuition. Step 2, contrast creates clarity. Now, what do I mean by that? Everybody has contrast in their lives. So maybe your contrast was that your mom wasn't there. Maybe your contrast was that your dad was abusive. Maybe your contrast was that home life wasn't safe. And then, as you probably know, that contrast in my world is what we call our shadows, or our unconscious subconscious patterns. Those unconscious subconscious patterns run in our energy body. And this is why we annoyingly manifest partners who trigger us. We manifest partners that trigger us because those partners that trigger us are the unhealed part of us that's showing up in a body. Okay? Again, that partner could be a boss. It could be a boyfriend, girlfriend. It could be a husband, wife. It could be a child. It could be an in-law. It could be your stepchildren. I don't care who it is. So I speak of a relationship. Don't just think primary relationship. Think any relationships. So we have contrast in our younger years, from 0 to about 7 or 12 years old. Our brain is in theta waves. As a result of that theta wave activation in our brains, we interpret external events that might not be anything as traumas. The example I use all the time, Daddy picked you up from school late. And as a result of that, he was late 5 minutes every time, 10 minutes every time. But 10 minutes in a 5-year-old's child brain is 10 and a half years. And then stories get manifest in that child's brain of abandonment, of wounding, and so on. So as a result of those unhealed wounds, we manifest boyfriends, partners, and so on that trigger that same wound. Okay? Could be kids that trigger the same wound. I don't care who it is. But contrast is occurring in our younger years because it's what your soul chose to move through in your lifetime. That's why they're yours. That's why your siblings have different ones. Okay? It's incredible, right? We grew up with siblings in the same parents, same house, but we're all different because our soul specifically chooses the contrast to heal it for the clarity of who we are. But we'll stay stuck in the contrast, and the contrast is often mirrored in all of our relationships. Often our bank account and our health too, but we're talking relationships right now because that's where my focus is for 2025, healing the relationships. So step 1, relationship with yourself. Step 2, contrast creates clarity. Step 3, as a result of that contrast and the partner that triggers us, we end up judging them. So I'll use that example of your partner who's always, your dad who was 10 minutes late, then you have a partner who abandons you all the time. He might go off and have affairs, she might go off and never be there, but it triggers this fight, flight, freeze in you. And this is very deep. I said that at the beginning. So if I lose you, please just play with me, play. As a result of that pain that we feel in our nervous system, right away we judge them. We're like, they're wrong, they're not safe, I need to get divorced, I need to exit this person from my will, I never knew this person, and then we walk around with this pain. And first we see it as our stepdaughter, then we see it as our in-laws, then we see it as our boss or coworkers, because the same pain keeps getting triggered with all those people because we haven't healed it. Got it? They often say that when you have your death experience, you have what's called your life review. You see all the stories in 1 second. You're like, oh, now I know I've manifested that person, that person, that person, and what I haven't healed. And our whole life is about healing those shadows or those unconscious patterns in the contrast so that we can live freely. But if any area of your life is having pain, any area of a relationship having pain, then you need to do the work. It's that simple. So step 1, relationship with yourself. Step 2, contrast creates clarity. Step 3, the judgment occurs, and that creates impact. And as a result of that judgment, what do? We create walls. These are defense walls. This is step 4. We create walls to stay safe. And that wall might say, I don't trust that person. That wall might have a story that may or may not, be quote unquote true, but you believe it. The ego believes it. That person's not safe. That person's not safe. That person's not safe. Men aren't safe. Women aren't safe. Men who are married aren't safe. Women who are married aren't safe. We create these defense walls. And defense walls only do one thing. They only impact ourselves. They only impact us and they hurt us. And then believe it or don't, as a result of step 1, 2, 3, and 4, we actually feel powerless. We feel like we're in constant contrast. Everyone I date triggers this pain. Every other person, I'm having this, and there's only so much that you can cut people out of your life, right? Pretty soon you're an N of 1 on an island by yourself, and no one wants that. You want all relationships in your life to be flourishing and full of love. But in order to do that, you have to work through these steps. So again, step 1, relationship with yourself. Step 2, contrast to clarity. Step 3, judgment. And then the impact of that as a safety mechanism. Then step 4, we create these defense walls to stay safe. And then step 5, we create what's called special love. We're like, okay, these ones I can trust, but I can't trust them. These ones I can trust, but I can't trust them. And what I want you to see is all of these steps are things the ego does. The ego does this to keep us safe, theoretically. Keep us safe from all of this pain. And where I'm going into your brain right now is really having you see how deeply it runs our show. Waiting for that one person, that one situation, that one thing that saves us. And all of these 5 steps are to show you how the ego is busy creating pain in your life. And yet that relationship of that daughter-in-law that drives you crazy is actually meant to heal something in you. But you don't know it because of all these defense walls, this judgment, this pain, the story that's created from your nervous system that you believe. And then pretty soon you live on an island of one. And you just assume that those are the bad people, this is the good people. And this is why we have all division in the world that we see right now. The Democrats are good, the Republicans are bad, or vice versa, right? So all relationships are pain stories that are ready to get healed. Now, step 6 is breaking our bonds of this pain and healing these stories so that these special relationships can become holy relationships. But in order to heal them, we have to heal the ego that's in us. That's so deeply, deeply intertwined, like the onion layers of the subconscious. And if relationships are not serving you, then it's time to do the 6-step process and break away from those defense walls, break away from that judgment, break away from the wounding of the shadow. But it's not a one-off thing. And that's why I personally have found retreats are your best bet. Best bet. Every retreat I have run in 2024 has sold out, and every retreat has had relationship success. And that's why in 2025, I'm gearing 100% to relationships. I'm going to give you 3 really great testimonials from clients. One of my clients who came to one of my retreats, and he came, his wife didn't come, and a little bit older, and he went home with these aha moments, these shifts. He didn't shove them down his wife's throat. He didn't say, you've got to do this. He just showed up as a different human. And their relationship gradually, slowly, quickly is shifting. And she's considering coming to one of my retreats in 2025. He didn't shove it down his throat. He didn't say, you need to change. He healed his pain and showed up differently. Let me give you two other examples. There are clients that have come to my retreats and they have relationship stuff like Santa Claus has toys in his bag that he's delivering, and it never seems to end. They date pain point after pain point after pain point. I've had 4 clients in a bunch of retreats who've come, and they have created these phenomenal relationships, which are night and day compared to their old, because they healed all those 6 steps, and they know the work to take it home with them, and they know how to go home and not be in the ego's thought systems, because the ego's thought systems are so deep and so deeply rooted. That's why it takes 5 days of us working together to heal them. I'll give you one other example. There's another client of mine who came to 2 of my retreats last year. And, the first retreat worked on one layer, the second retreat worked on another layer. He hasn't been able to have a successful relationship in a decade. I saw him the other day, and he's now in a successful relationship. First time. Mind-blowing, right? Because we work on all of these layers. We bring tools and techniques to heal the pain. And we break the bondage of the pain. And the more we do that, the more we heal. So retreats are an intimate gathering, usually 10, 15, 20 people tops. And during these retreats, we dive in deep. We dive into our stories. We heal the pain. We go one step at a time. We move out of powerless into joy and love. And you leave the retreats with massive learning, massive healing, and how to apply it to yourself. The retreats are just not a 5-day event that you come and hang out with me for. They usually last 6 months in your body, even longer. And you're unlayering and layering and layering when you get home. It doesn't end. The reason that the retreats are so deep is because your divine support team, your guides, your angels, your ancestors know exactly what you're meant to heal and shift in your life. And the pain point is relationships. Maybe the relationship is with yourself, maybe with a spouse, maybe with your mother. But your willingness to go there is going to be the willingness to have success. And I'm here to hold the space for you. So I'm super excited about 2025 because it's going to be a miraculous year for myself and for all of you. So I'm formally inviting you to my next retreat, which is in Palm Springs. We have a 5-star venue that is picked out. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous. Amazing catered food, a beautiful pool outside, warm weather to get us out of Greater Vancouver, Pacific Northwest when it rains, and 5 days in heaven to heal our stories. And you will leave a changed person, because as a group, we see each other in ourselves. So not only do we heal your layers, you'll witness other people heal too. So the group container is massive, it's expansive, and it's truly transformative. That's why I have all those crazy testimonials on my website. You're like, how? How does this person heal that chronic pain? How does that person heal that relationship?
Thank you so much for joining me in this podcast, Ease into Clarity. It is such a joy, pleasure, and honor to be in your living room. What I would love is if you follow me on Instagram, DRDIVI, or go to my website, DRDIVI.com, or write a review. That would be even more amazing. Thank you. If you really enjoyed this podcast, feel free to share it with friends, family. Tell them to follow me. Because I think the more of us that listen to the fact that each of us can start to shift. Each of us can shift mental things, emotional things, spiritual shift, to shift our daily reality. When more and more of us do it, we get a better planet. We get more love. We get more happiness. We get more joy. So I'd love it if you followed. I'd love it if you shared this, because it would be such a joy and an honor. And again, if you have a question, guess what? I'm here for you. So send me an email, easeintoclarity@gmail.com. And as they come in, I will answer them in podcasts that are subsequent, whether it be your boss, your relationship, your husband, whatever. That's what I'm here for. Because the more of us that learn really simple mental techniques, really simple spiritual techniques, we change the physical reality we live in. Pretty soon, we have more peace, more ease, more joy, trickling across the whole world. Remember, there's a spiritual solution for every problem. Thank you for joining me. Namaste.